should I admit this? I never want to go back to cosmetology school, so I think I can admit this. Because this, what I'm about to say, will literally have me banned from cosmetology schools for the rest of my life.
Hey, it's me.
Hello and welcome back to the web. I'm Nick Webb. If you're new here, welcome for the first time. If you're coming back, hello, it's nice to see you again. I post weekly on Sundays. I would love for you to hang out, follow along. If you're coming back, I want you to keep coming back. But yeah, let's get into it. So today I literally have like 30 minutes to do my makeup, but I wanted to talk about, because the video I did of doing my hair is still doing pretty well. And so like I wanted to talk about more hair stuff while I get ready and tell you about my experience with Paul Mitchell Cosmetology School, because I am a beauty school dropout. Beauty school dropout, go back to high school. I'm a beauty school dropout. I already done my skincare, so I'm gonna go in with this All Good SPF just face sunscreen. I'm still looking for new brands to enjoy. I got this when we went on a family vacation in Hawaii, and it's reef safe, and so I do really like it. It also doesn't make me break out. The only thing is when I go to wash my face, it runs in my eyes and it burns my eyes. So I don't know if like all SPF does that. I'm also 26. It's time that I make sure I'm wearing SPF every single day. I am going to do essentially an elevated version of kind of my everyday makeup today, just because I'm heading to an event out of town to bartend for my stepmother-in-law's family. So my step-in-laws, and it has to last literally until 2 a.m. and it is 10 a.m. So the year is 2015 and I moved to Los Angeles, California to go to Paul Mitchell. This was my whole plan, and this is how I even ended up with cosmetology school, because this was right out of high school. I'm also doing the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer because I think it's better than the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. I know it's like the dupe, but I think the e.l.f. is superior. I had always wanted to be an actress, like ever since I was little. And I was like, I'm gonna move to LA right out of high school and I'm gonna pursue this. The only thing is I didn't want to be waiting tables while I went on auditions. Like I didn't want to be a struggling actress. Like I wanted something that could support me while I chased my actual dream. So I said, why don't I wait tables while I go to cosmetology school? Because I also landed a job at the Cheesecake Factory, and the Cheesecake Factory was literally in this shopping center the next door to the Paul Mitchell school I was going to. I started as a host. I would go from hosting until 4 o'clock. Then I'd walk on over to go to school at 5 to 10. I'm doing the e.l.f. brow lift. I think it's better than the Anastasia gel. I do just want to try the Got to Be Glued because everybody says the Got to Be Glued is better. So I moved to LA and I go to Paul Mitchell, and when I applied to Paul Mitchell and like you do this like interview thing, they sell you this dream. You know, it's Paul Mitchell, it's a name brand. And we go to do like financial aid, and you don't really get loans. You can only really get a grant because it's a trade school. I don't qualify for anything because I'm 18, I'm on my parents' my parents' taxes still, and my parents made not enough to help me with school. I was gonna pay for it on my own, but they made too much for me to be considered that I needed help. I had to pay it all on my own, and it was gonna be $500 out of pocket every month. And like that's a lot, and I was very fortunate that I was getting a place of like free rent, but also going to school full time and truly, honestly, just learning how to be an adult. Like I should have waited at least a year, but $500 a month, like a month. Like, but I was also at this time, I was only a host, and like hosts make okay money, but not enough. Like I think my paycheck at the time, I think I was getting $800 a month. Like I would be left with $300. And school is full time. I can't go get a second job. But they told me, they're like, because I was hesitant. I almost backed out. Like, should have. I almost backed out, and they were like, no. Like, we want to help people achieve their dream. We've had students who've lived in their cars And like, we've done everything we can to make sure they achieve their dreams. Like, we have people who just can't pay, and the biggest thing is we want you to achieve your dream at whatever cost. Like, we're very understanding. Doing the Anastasia dip brow, my tried and true since 2016. This era, we're bringing it back. So I go through it. I move all my stuff. I move into this house with people I used to be super close to, and I'm essentially like, you know, the way I was gonna pay rent was I was gonna also be like their part-time nanny kind of. Start going to school, and like right out of the gate, I'm gonna be honest, I thought like all my dreams were coming true. I truly loved the first like 4 months of cosmetology school, and you're just in a classroom the first the first like 3 months, depending. Like the first month if you're in day school, there's day school, there's night school. Day school only takes a year and it's 8 hours a day. Night school takes about 2 years and it's 5 hours at night. I was doing night school. I started out with night school so I could have like a day job. I loved, it's called core. Is it called core? I think it's called core. It's like there's 3 phases, and I was in core. I loved my core learning leader, and I was learning so much. And for the first time, especially somebody who had undiagnosed ADHD and just like didn't understand why I didn't learn the way other people learned. Like the first time I truly felt like things clicked in my mind was in my junior year of chemistry, when my chemistry teacher like handed me highlighters and let me color code things, and everything started clicking because the colors like popped out to me, and I really enjoyed chemistry. And cosmetology is, they say it's like, I think it's like a major in art and a minor in geometry and chemistry or something like that. It was either or flip, something like that, where geometry and chemistry is a huge part. Hairstylists are chemists. I'm gonna go in with a Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter as a glowy base. So it was just really nice that like going to cosmetology school, everything was hands-on. It was so different than just high school. It was so different than any school experience I had because it really catered to the way my mind worked. And so I loved it. I was loving it. I was so excited. And then I get on the floor and I'm like anxious, obviously, to take clients just because like that's scary, and it's like I'm doing people's hair now. And then just like things kind of started shifting in my life. I will say Paul Mitchell is very heavy artistry wise, not much technique wise. But if I had graduated, I would have felt confident enough to go on the floor on my own. But I would not have been confident enough to do state board. And there's pros and cons to just different cosmetology schools. Some, you know, really nail you for state board, and then you get into the floor and you're like, what do I do? So it's hard. I think I did really enjoy that Paul Mitchell did teach me a lot of creativity. Anastasia contour stick. So the first couple months I was just really enjoying it. I like had these big aspirations. I went to literally Paul Mitchell convention within my first couple months. Like we went to Florida. If you sell a certain amount of products, it's called Caper. If you sell a certain amount of products, you get this all expense paid trip to wherever the convention is, and it's all the Paul Mitchell schools. We went to Disney World in Florida, and it's this big hair event. I got my hair cut into a pixie cut, and this is where things started going south. And my boyfriend at the time, who is an ex, he did not like the pixie cut. I remember walking around feeling like the baddest bitch ever. Oh my God. And you're surrounded by all of these creatives, and so they're seeing this and they're like, you look so good, oh my God, blah, blah, blah. And then my boyfriend did not like it. And he let me know, I wasn't his type anymore. And we had been together for about a year at that point. And that was like soul crushing, devastating, but that's not Paul Mitchell's fault. So, that was really hard because now I have this pixie cut that obviously is going to take time to grow out. So that was soul crushing. I come back and like my relationship is on the rocks, and we end up breaking up twice. I end up breaking up with him and twice and like our relationship's done. It's over with. And very quickly I did move on, and started dating. I guess I was dating, like, yeah, we were seeing each other. I don't know. I don't even know what it was. It was actually probably my first situationship before people knew what a situationship was. And he was this boy at my church, and he was horrible. And he's just like stringing me back and forth, stringing me along. And it's like really affecting my schooling. And that's on me. Like, that's on me. This is, Paul Mitchell comes into play and is the villain. But this part is on me, letting a boy get in the way of my career. I was slipping very quickly into like a depression because it's the first time that I was like with a boy that I didn't understand, like, why is he saying one thing but his actions aren't showing it? Like, a just very confusing time. And also I was like a part of a church at this time. I'm also just doing Revolution translucent powder. All I wanted to do was get married because that's what the church was telling me to do. And so like, I thought every relationship had to be the one. And so I'm like trying to make this thing work when it clearly shouldn't work. And this boy didn't even like me. And so, you know, I'm slowly slipping into depression. In the meantime, my two best friends in cosmetology school, shout out to Stephanie and Brenna, I love you both. One of them switched to day school. At the same time, I get promoted to being a server at Cheesecake Factory. And in my head, I was like, I make more money serving dinner services than I do working the lunches. So I want to switch to day school so I can make more money so I can afford school. Because at the same time, I was driving my dad's 1994 Ford F-150 through the streets of Los Angeles. If you have never been to Los Angeles, the streets are this big and my truck was this big. And I'm this little girl who got my license 3 months before I moved to LA. The first time I drove on a freeway was on my way to my interview at the Cheesecake Factory. Oh, this truck is falling apart. And I'm like, I need a new car. I need a new car. I cannot keep driving. This truck is going to fail and fall on me. And at this point, I'm like financially independent from my parents. And that's just how it works. I knew going into it. My parents weren't like horrible people. Like, I remember what they told me because I was like, I need to save up for a down payment. I need to take 2 months. I need to take 2 months and save at least $1,000 for a down payment. And one of my old coworkers from when I worked at a movie theater in high school, like his aunt was selling a car and it was super cheap. And I was like, I just need to take 2 months to get a good down payment and then I can get this car. So I was like, I'm not gonna pay my school bill for 2 months because they told me that whatever happens, even if you miss your payments, it's okay. We just want you to succeed. We understand life just happens. So I do that. I take like, I think it was like 2 or 3 months where I was like, I'm not gonna pay my school bill so I can get this car. And then in the meantime, I get the car, I switch to day school. They don't say anything to me. They just say, okay, cool, you switched to day school. I switched to day school. I'm serving. I have this new car. I'm making bigger payments because now I have like a car payment, something I didn't have before. And I'm like starting to try to catch up with my monthly payment. Like I got back on track, but I wasn't getting ahead. And then in the meantime, the guy, my first situationship, this is actually, it happened the day I got my new car. My high school best friend and him were talking behind my back and I found out while sitting right next to her. Now this is also almost 10 years ago, so it's like very water under the bridge, I don't care. It's just, this was a very huge part of my story at this time. I've never had like betrayal like that before. I say this not even anything like against her, because water under the bridge. We were 18, 19 years old. It's over. It's fine. But I say it because it's a very prevalent part of my story, not like I'm still holding it against her. I hope she's doing well, actually. We clearly haven't been friends since, which actually honestly makes me sad. I did really enjoy her as a friend. So I find out this betrayal while sitting next to her. The day I get my car, I lose my best friend of like 4 or 5 years, lose the guy I was with, which wasn't a huge loss, and switch to day school. I'm becoming a server, like a lot is happening, and I slip into this like really deep depression. Everything's falling apart. I'm so confused. In the meantime, I'm really struggling in school, and this is on me, and should I admit this? I never want to go back to cosmetology school, so I think I can admit this. Because this, what I'm about to say, will literally have me banned from cosmetology schools for the rest of my life if like somebody from state board or whatever hears what I'm about to say. Dude, okay, I really have to think, like, is this long term? Is this gonna affect anything? It's really not that deep, but like to them it's deep. Do I ever want to go? No, it's been almost 10 years. It's been almost 10 years. I would commit time clock fraud every single day. Every single day. I was in day school. Every single fucking day I was committing time clock fraud. What is time clock fraud? So you clock in, but it's kind of scary. Paul Mitchell, some cosmetology schools you do a thumbprint, because you have to get your hours. It's by the hours. And so nobody can like put in your numbers for you. Nobody can do whatever. You have to either thumbprint or Paul Mitchell. They read the top of our veins where we like something. It would be like, and then it would clock in by our veins. Super weird. Me, and I'm not going to say who else because just in case they ever want to go back to cosmetology school. Me and unnamed friends, because I had a lot of friends in cosmetology school, so you're not going to know who it was. Me and unnamed friends, I'm doing Fenty Beauty bronzer. We had the system down for day school because day school was also 8 hours and I was depressed. We were miserable. Like all of us were kind of getting super depressed. I don't even know. I don't remember how we did it, but it was one of those like, oh, we're going to go get something from our car. And then we knew where the cameras were. We knew like there was just a schedule of the day where we knew we could be gone for like 2 hours and nobody would know we were missing, especially because day school is so large. Like there were so many students to account for. And we got away with it every time. And we would go to this place called Tommy's where there's chili cheese fries, best chili cheese fries ever. So I wasn't doing well. Like I wasn't doing well at all. They got a new president, not a new owner, because Paul Mitchell's are, what is it, a franchise? So there's like individual owners, but it's like a corporation. But they got a new president of the school. The one I had when I enrolled, who made all these big promises and dreams to me, changed to somebody who used to be, she was in the office, but I also think she was a learning leader. And I thought she was really cool at first. And then I obviously despised her because she changed. And so she kind of was like trying to get shit in order, I guess. And this is when I realized they do not care about our dreams whatsoever. They care about their money, which duh, like, you know, hard lesson to learn at 19 years old. And this new learning leader is like harassing me about my late payments. And I'm like, what do you want from me? I don't have it. Like he would find me and be like, hey, you have this outstanding balance. I'm like, okay, I can't pay that. I'm going to pay what I can. Leave me alone. Like I would hide from him and he was going after everybody. And so finally, I don't know what happened. I think because of my payments, they pulled me up into the office and I had 2 months left until I graduated. They pull me up into the office and they're like, you have this outstanding balance. Like I owed $5,000. No, I owed like $8,000. No, I owed $5,000. I owed about $8,000 from missed payments and just the amount that would be remaining until I graduated. And then I also owed, because if you miss over 160 hours, they start to charge you. And I was missing school a lot. I was depressed. I was struggling. I wasn't doing well. And so I think actually I owed, this is what it was. I lost my financial aid for the last little quarter of it. So I owed even more because I would have owed $5,000 and then I lost stuff because I wasn't keeping like my grade point average and things like that. And that is on me. But she's just like, essentially, you can graduate, but you can't go take your state board until you pay us this $5,000 in full, because it was $5,000 at the time. And I was like, I can't pay that. Like, I can't pay that. I was at the Sherman Oaks Galleria 12 hours a day for 7 days because I would go to school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I would work all those nights. Then I would come back Friday, Saturday, and work I went to school Monday through Friday. I would work a double on Saturday, and I would work one shift on Sunday. So I was burnt out. I was depressed. I'm like, I'm working all this, and I don't have money. And they were like, yeah, and you owe us this much money because that's what it was too. They were like, your monthly payments increased by $800 and nobody told you because you switched to day school, so it's estimated you finish faster. Because I was paying my $500 a month payments and they're like, yeah, you're actually really behind. And I'm like, why am I behind? I'm paying all my payments. And she's like, no, when you switch to day school, your payments go up because you're projected to finish faster. And I was like, nobody told me that. Like, I signed off on day school with you, and you never told me that. And she's just like, and I kind of like broke down to her and I was like, I don't know like what you expect of me because I'm working full time. Like, you guys come in after your shift, you come in and see me serving next door. Like, I don't really know what you like expect of me. I can't do much more. And then at the time I was also like working for free for a church. And so I was also busy with that. Like, I'm allowed to have my own life out of cosmetology school. Okay. And you know what she said to me? She said, maybe you should get an overnight job too. Bitch, when the fuck am I supposed to sleep? She literally said, maybe get like an early morning Starbucks job or maybe work overnight. She's like, when I was in cosmetology school, I wanted it so bad. I just had to make it happen. And I worked 3 jobs. As if like I just didn't really want it enough. And her solution to me, a 19-year-old that wasn't eating, that couldn't pay her bills and was doing it all on her own, you just told me to go work more. When I just told you I'm working to the point of severe exhaustion and I'm starving myself. Because I also can't afford food, unless it's the free soup and bread I get at work. That was her response to me. So I left that place so defeated because it was one of those things where it's like, it doesn't even matter if I finish because they will not sign off on my license. They will not sign off on me to go take my state board to then get a job to pay off my school loans. And with trade schools, they're like private institutions. And so I couldn't get a loan through the bank. Like it doesn't honor it. And also at the time, everybody started dealing with this where I had so many classmates, all of a sudden they're like, you owe us this many thousands of dollars and you can't get your license until you pay it. And everybody's like, that's not what you told us when we signed up. That's not what you told us when we signed up. That's not when you told us when we signed up. So it wasn't just me, it was everybody. Like, I had one of my classmates, her like husband had to pull out a loan for like a personal loan and he cashed it and they paid in cash so she could graduate. Like, other people were just scrambling because all of a fucking sudden, you told us you're gonna help us get our license and achieve our dreams no matter what, and the money's not a big deal, just pay us when you can. And then it comes down to it, and nope, you can't do anything until you give us your stupid money. At the time, too, I was being very heavily pressured to work full-time for free in this church. And that, again, that's not on Paul Mitchell. That's just its own separate thing. And so I just kind of got to the point where I was like, you know what? I'm going to drop out. I'm going to be a beauty school dropout. This isn't fun anymore. I don't even take clients. I hide from clients. I'm not having fun. I'm severely depressed. And at first it was going to be like, I'm just going to take 3 months off and like reconvene and refigure it out. Because if you take 3 months off and come back, like everything's the same. But if you exceed 3 months, then you have to like restart your hours over. So at first it was like, I'm going to take 3 months off. Like, let me take a 3-month leave. But then it was just like, no, like, I'm over this. I don't want to do this anymore. And then again, I was also being like heavily pressured to be full-time in a church that I wasn't going to get paid at. And that's its own separate thing. So I drop out. And the office lady that I dropped out with, Dawn, love her. She's like a big mom, and I just like broke down to her and she just held me. She let me cry and she was just like, I don't want you to go, but I get it. Like, I get it. And so I dropped out and on my 45-minute drive home, I played Beauty School Dropout on repeat and I felt so free. I was so excited. And then what Dawn had told me, and this isn't Dawn's fault, I will die for Dawn. Dawn said, look, you still have this outstanding balance and it's now even more because you're dropping out so you don't get all these like loans or these grants and everything, like they're not valid. So I owed $8,000 and she's like, but look, there's no deadline to pay, like just every month call the school and make a payment every single month and it can literally be $1, but as long as you are making a payment, fine. Which I probably, you know, should have signed a contract of some sort of like a minimum payment. And also maybe I don't even remember what paperwork I signed. Maybe there was a contract stating I would pay every month. I don't remember. Every month for 2-3 years, I would call and I would pay what I can. It was like $200 a month every now and then it's like Then I moved to Sacramento and I started struggling. So then it turned into literally $15, $12, $10, $20, like whatever I could afford just to keep this bill out of collections, or just to be like in good standing. Cause I don't, at this point, I don't even think I knew what collections was. So then I miss one payment, one payment. And then the next month I'm on top of it. And I think I went back to paying like $200 the next month. Then I was paying and I was paying for a couple months. I had one missed payment. And then I get this call, ring, ring, ring. Hello? This is, I can't even remember his name. I think he was like John Michael or something. No. I don't know. I think he was like, his name was like Mark or something. And he was actually a very lovely man. And I'm driving home on the highway in Sacramento. My life in Sacramento is in shambles. And he calls me and he said, hello, you owe $8,000. It went to collections. And I was like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? I've been paying this bill. And he said, yeah, so Paul Mitchell, the school, got audited and your file was randomly pulled. And we see that it's an unsecure bill or something. Like it's an unsecure payment. Essentially because they didn't give me a minimum payment. And because I missed one time, it's unsecure, and so my file got pulled and went straight to collections. And I'm like, this man, and he's like, so you owe $8,000 right now. And I start sobbing. I was like, I can't pay that. And this angel of a man, he was just like, do you have, like, your parents, can they help you? And I was like, no, they can't. Like, especially at this point in time, like, they cannot. And he was like, do you have like a boyfriend or a husband? And I was like, I'm single, like I'm painfully single. I don't have anybody. And he has to be a father or something because he had a really soft spot. And he was just like, this actually happens with every Paul Mitchell student we get put into collections. And so I want to help you out. I want to put you on a payment plan. It minimum has to be, I think it was like $250. He's like, minimum $250. You have to pay it every month so it doesn't go into collections. And it's, you know, $250, and then once it's paid off, and you will be out of collections. Because he was very much like, you're young, like this would affect you buying a house, this will affect everything if it gets marked on you, so I'm gonna keep it out of collections, just pay us this payment every month, and like, you're gonna be good. An angel of a man. But for him to be like, this happens to every Paul Mitchell student, and for like also all of my other friends at the time when this was all happening to me to be scrambling and they weren't going to graduate unless they paid, after they had told us like, we want you to achieve your dreams and blah, 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 was really disappointing. And it's so hard because I loved Paul Mitchell for a moment because it felt like for the girls and anybody, it felt like for the people who, you know, school just wasn't for us. Like, you know, what are we going to do with our life? It felt really like, oh my gosh, we finally found something that we can be good at. And for that to just be preyed upon and for us to be sold this dream of like, yeah, maybe we can actually get a really good career and we can just like be creative and do these things. I'm doing the Anastasia Glow kit. And then for it to be like, come down to the wire and be like, give us $10,000 right now. Just kidding on everything we said. If you're living in your car, that sucks. Like, nobody was living in their car at the time that I went to school that I knew of. And that's a huge bummer. And then to be told by Mr. Collections guy that he's like, yeah, I actually get this a lot with Paul Mitchell. Huge letdown. And I will say, every franchise owner is different. So this is very specifically to like a small SoCal region. My husband ended up paying it off. I was making the monthly payments every month. I did not miss that. Even through COVID, did not miss those payments. I was like, I'm not letting Mr. Collections guy down. He gave me a chance and I'm going to prove it to him. And when my husband ended up getting like this large lump sum of money, and when I went to pay off the final remaining balance, I called to pay it off. And Mr. Collections guy was just like, congratulations. I'm really glad that this is our last phone call. And I think I told him too, I joked, I think I was like, I got a boyfriend who could pay it off. I do think I told him that. And then he was just like, I'm really happy that this is our last phone call, and was just like very sincere. Oh my God, I'm gonna cry. It was a beautiful moment. It took me 5 years to pay it off. It took me 5 years, 4 years, 4 to 5 years. And the only reason I got paid off is because my husband. I know some people had fantastic experiences and like this didn't affect them, but I knew so many. It was almost like my whole class that started at the same time that we were dealing with it. And I know it was the president or director shift that did it. And I don't know if it came from the president director. I don't know if it came from the owner being like, no, switch it up, make sure everybody's paying. I don't know, honestly, who to blame. But I blame just Paul Mitchell, the school in general. Would I ever go back? No, because I just admitted I was committing time clock fraud. So if any one of them find this, because digital footprint, I'm banned from cosmetology schools forever. So that's fine. But also just like, it's left such a bad taste in my mouth. And like, the only thing I do is I do my own hair. I used to do people's hair like on the side for fun, but it's not something I would want to make a career of. And truly, honestly, I think my very poor experience with Paul Mitchell ruined that, which is a bummer. But I also like, I have so many people I did go to cosmetology school with that I like have on social media still, and they're all thriving, which is amazing. Like one of them, she was an assistant for like this top stylist for a couple years now. She's just has her own chair. She's at this amazing salon. Like a bunch of them I follow are just in great salons, and I love that for them. I love that for them. That just was not my story. And I was just in such a financial bind, and also just on my own part, really personally going through it, which I struggle with, because they had told me essentially that they would have my back because they know life happens. And life was happening to me on a very small scale compared to like a bunch of other people, but life was happening to me and I didn't really have a support system, and I was doing it on my own financially, and you told me you had my back and then you didn't have my back. And that was when I first started to realize to just never trust anybody. I learned so much, and like I still carry so much of that knowledge with me. And truly, genuinely, if I had like gotten my license and like gotten on the floor, I feel like I would have been like far ahead knowledge-wise than most of the schools, just because of how they taught the creativity. I would have struggled with like my state board, but that would have just been study on my own time. So it's like, if you're thinking of going to Paul Mitchell, I would just make sure that like, I don't know, you have money saved up, or like, I don't know, don't ever like lean on them financially. And also don't commit time clock fraud. And also don't miss more than 160 hours, because that really racks up. That cost me a lot. I actually think I didn't have to pay it because I dropped out. And I think that was part of why I dropped out. So never mind. Only miss 160 hours if you're gonna drop out. But then don't drop out, because I paid $8,000 for a school I didn't even complete. So if you have any questions about Paul Mitchell the school, let me know. If you have a horrible beauty school experience, I would also love to know, because that's kind of the trope, I guess, of like, you go to beauty school and it's absolutely miserable for everybody, no matter what school you're at. That was just my Paul Mitchell experience in general. Curriculum wise, I think it was great. I would recommend it for that. But when it comes down to money, and that's just with anything, any time a business of any sort, corporation, franchise, small business, family business, when they say we're a family here, run. But that's how I know enough to do my hair from that previous video. It's because I went to Paul Mitchell for 2 years. Paul Mitchell, please don't come and sue me. I'm saying your curriculum's great. I just think you're money hungry. But all right, I have to skedaddle. I'm running super, super late. I have to go bartend all night. I will see you guys next week. Make sure you like, subscribe, follow, whatever. Do all the things. If you're new here, again, welcome. I hope you continue to enjoy. I hope you continue to join the journey of my silly little life. If you're coming back, welcome back. I love you. Okay, love you. Bye.